Thank you, Dr. Hartle. Much appreciated. Yeah, I'll make this quick. This talk will be basically on. I'm a very avid user of AI. I was part of. I had a company that did a lot of machine learning in 2013, all the way till 2022 with multiple DoD contracts. We did a lot of work that was powerful machine learning at that time. And avid user of AI today. Have a lot of friends at the foundational labs like OpenAI and stuff like that. So. I'm always willing to talk about that, and it's something that is of big interest. But in this talk, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about kind of the safer aspects of what exists right now that we can reliably use in practice that are machine learning or AI driven, if you will. So basically this talk is about what is ready for prime time. The golden rule here is if it doesn't change a decision in clinic or the OR or discharge, then we cut it out of the use. What we're looking at right now, and I'll cover just quickly in this talk, is the things that we can use consistently or use now or use tomorrow is auto-measuring alignment on radiographs, calibrated risk calculators for counseling, and then frailty and sarcopenia, machine learning and AI models that have been successful. With caution, we'll go into that in detail, is same-day discharge models, disposition prediction, and model transfers, and then avoiding in our field are black box models, which basically means all the foundational models currently, one center models that are supposed to be used for everything, and LLMs as independent decision makers. That's not the way to go for now. So how do we figure out what something's prime time? Is it validated? Does it offer action? And is it governed? A good AUC or macro ROC alone is not enough to give you information. It's got to be calibrated to your patient set and your location and the types of patients that you operate on. This is especially important from institution to institution. So what does ready look like? It means it needs to be externally validated and calibrated, and the decision curves net benefit is versus treating all versus none. An example of this is Spine Sage. How many people have heard of Spine Sage? Anybody? Yeah, so Spine Sage 2012 project from University of Washington, incredible project, $3 million on it, and actually even today, as it's getting published on 2022, 2023, predicts the threshold benefit for whether or not there's going to be risk for a patient you're going to operate on better than the NSQIP database calculators. So Spine Sage is probably one of the best examples of an externally validated, calibrated model that does a great job predicting risk for a patient. You can plug in, are they their BMI, or they have asthma, all these little details, and it'll tell you the percent chance of risk based on those factors and those parameters. And it's been validated in multiple publications to show that it actually does a pretty good job predicting. So Spine Sage is probably one of those excellent ones as far as what you can use today. And it really is traditional machine learning and not the way I would think of deep learning and AI today. But it's something we can use. And the takeaway here, you can have some pretty complex models, like logistic regression is a simpler model. We're looking at binary views of the world, yeses or nos, versus an artificial neural network, which is a little bit more black box, harder to figure out how it comes to its conclusions. What you'll see with its area under the curve on both sides, that they're pretty similar across multiple spectra, and if they're that similar, use the simplest model. So if you have a choice between a logistic regression model and you have a choice between an artificial neural network, use the logistic regression. Use the simpler model that's easier to explain, easier to defend, easier to explain to people how it works. Just because it's fancier or more complex doesn't mean it did a better job at your particular question. As far as MIS is concerned, this is something that needs to be calibrated to your practice. So there are some models out there that do a pretty good job of predicting what single-level laminectomy looks like, or what a decision would be like for disposition. The key thing with these models, all the ones that you see and the ones that are published, is they need to be locally calibrated to your patients. So this is where the EHR can play a huge role for us. That it doesn't. Okay, so really if we had data streams and data pipelines that were built around our enterprise warehouses, like our Epic or your Cerner or what have you, we could take those models that are published out in the literature for disposition, discharge, and then calibrate them to our local populations and our local results, and they'd be a lot more valuable at that point. Win number 2 is automated imaging measurements. So this is what you'd think of as your traditional Surgimat type of thing, but we have publications now in the last year and a half, 2 years that show very good ability to identify these parameters and landmarks effectively and show these measurements in an automated way. And companies like Nuvasive at the time had IGA and Nuvaline. These have kind of shown themselves out to be actually pretty effective, so they speed up your workflow. And the third win right now is automated analysis of frailty and sarcopenia, where we have meta-analyses that show that this is something that's like a modifiable risk that we can take into consideration before we operate on a patient that kind of goes hand in hand with spine stage and these types of predictive calculators. So these are the ones that are machine learning successes that have been proven out in the literature and meta-analyses to be relatively effective at risk prediction. And I know on the Columbia side, for their decision making, they're consistently going through the ACS and NISQIP calculators for predicting risk. I think spine stage is something we could add to our practices as well, as a side note. So really, the world is full of all these different AI models. And just to go back to what Neil and Chevy were talking about, it would be terrible to have the insurance companies promote an AI model that they like that just happens to favor their desired results, and there's no guardrails or check over that. Meaning, like, you may argue you have a better AI model that's validated, but they'll say that they trust their AI model more. Who's to tell you who's right? Right? That's the issue now, is AI versus AI, right? So the key to guardrails, at least in the clinical world, outside of what we were talking about with payers, is validate it locally, define its intended use very, very clearly, monitor drift when it starts to come off the rails, which goes back to what your experience tells you should be right and wrong, and then plan controlled updates where you can actually keep track of what's happening with the model and then maintain its transparency and training, right? So this is the way that we look at whether an AI is ready for prime time. So in short, ready now is really machine learning calculators and these types of machine learning models for radiology. This kind of as standard as it gets. Ready later are things that you can calibrate locally to your practice and your clinical workflow based on the data sets and the analysis you have locally. And what's not ready yet is like what I said before, which is the foundational models and the black box models. Those are not ready yet for clinical decision making. We just put together a paper that was accepted today at the Global Spine Journal that we took into consideration 90 case reports. We fed it to Gemini, we fed it to ChatGPT, and we saw that they converged on surgical decisions together, wrong together, right? So the point I'm making is it's very important to keep in mind that this is the worst the LLMs are going to get right now. They're going to get better, there's no question. But as of right now, this second, they are not ready for prime time for decision making, okay? So thank you. Appreciate your time.